Boy, oh boy, how about those Marlins? Locked on Marlins today coming at you immediately post-game in Game 3 against the Phillies, and somehow the Marlins hang on for dear life there, get the win. They avoid the sweep. It would have been back-to-back sweeps against the Phillies. Absolute pain there for the Fish, no doubt about it. But I am delighted to have Ethan Budowsky joining me today, recapping not just on the Phillies, but we're going to get into some bigger themes, no doubt about it, on today's Locked on Marlins.
You are Locked on Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked on Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast with me, of course, Peter Pratt. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, guys. Twitter's where the action's at. No Instas, no TikToks, none of that. At Miami Marlins _UK. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please do. If you are watching, you will see I am melting. Do you know why? It's 90 degrees here in the UK and we have no AC. There is no AC in residential properties here in the UK. So I am melting away. I don't think Tanner Scott helped that situation either, but nevertheless, Ethan Budowsky, after a couple of month hiatus from Locked on Marlins, returns. Ethan Budowsky, how we doing, brother?
Good, brother. I cannot believe, as you guys would say over there, that is absolutely mad that you guys do not have air conditioning in residential properties. It is air conditioning coming from South Florida, growing up in South Florida. I can 100% wholeheartedly say it is the greatest invention of all time. And it's just crazy to me that European countries just refuse to install it anywhere. But
refuse to. We're too far gone. But yeah, I mean the heat has been high this week, no doubt about it. And oh boy, I'm struggling, but I'm keeping hydrated, as you may have seen on Twitter, guys. So I have to call out another health warning. Not only am I melting, I've also had a few beers and wines. So if there's a few slurred lines, you know why. But nevertheless, I feel like that puts me in the perfect mental state for this conversation. I messaged Ethan, earlier in the week and said, listen, brother, it's time. And he just went, Pete, I've been waiting for this call. So, we're ready to rock and roll. Ethan, let's just start with that game that we've just both, sat there watching and enjoying, kind of. It was a bit of a rodeo there with Tanner Scott at the end, no doubt.
Yeah, it's pretty descriptive of what the Marlins have been all year, Pete, right? You get a great start from one of your extremely talented starting pitchers. You scrap together a couple runs because the offense can't do anything consistent. And then the bullpen comes in and nearly screws it all up, right? And on some days, I mean, you're fully expecting Scott to just leave 99 down the middle of the plate, and Matt Vierling or Garrett Stubbs or one of these random guys just takes him 479 feet, right, hitting the ball to New Jersey. And you're just fully expecting that at this point, because that is what has happened so many times for the Marlins this year. Because, of course, as we all know, they refused to spend a single cent adding to the bullpen. They traded for Scott. They traded for Sulzer. I guess you could say they spent some money on Richard Blyer, but we've seen how that's gone this year. They refused to improve the bullpen, and we've seen how spending money in other areas of the team went, right? We'll get to that in a minute, I'm sure. But it's pretty descriptive of what the Marlins have been. Now they're 10 under? I can't remember. The last time I looked at the standings, they were 10 under. I think they've lost 2. So I guess they're 11 under now. I mean, they're right back where they started, Pete, and it's really just frustrating, infuriating, disappointing. All the words that you want to use to describe this season are, acceptable.
You've summed it up perfectly. This game in itself just is a microcosm. Yep. I didn't think I'd use the word microcosm in this episode, but I'm glad I did. And also I'm glad I didn't botch it up either. So I said it well. It's impressive. But it is a microcosm of this Marlins season.
Absolutely.
Starter gets good start out of them. Not a quality start per se, but it was a quality start. Like Eddie Cabrera's,
I mean, he gets one more out, and it's technically, it's a quality start. So
exactly. And I'll ask you about Eddie shortly, but the starter gives them what they look for. The offense blew an opportunity in the first. You think, can you just get in there and bust this game open early doors? Can you do anything just to get give yourself a cushion? No. Double plays, okay. Scrap together a few runs, then the bullpen comes in, and it's just a rodeo, and you just see what happens, and you just hope and pray. And Craig Mish has been saying it all year, like, you do have to watch these Marlins games right to the end. Like, win or loss, like, there's action. because it's so volatile back there. It really is. And
it's crazy.
It's wild. It's wild. And that game just does sum it up. Like you said, last time we were in this situation, I think Stubbs hit a walk-off homer, I think, if I recall correctly. So it's funny, they actually pinch hit for him. I was shocked. I think actually Paul Severino on the broadcast was shocked too, because of obviously the history there. But nevertheless,
I think there's been 2 this year. There was an afternoon game, and then there was obviously the one with the sandy water bottle and all that madness. So they've done it a couple times up in Philly this year, Pete. And you were just sitting there waiting for it to happen again, weren't you?
You were. I mean, it would have really set the table for this episode, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Ethan, there's a few things I want to get into specifically, but as we sit here right now, I've been dwelling on this for the last couple of days in particular. We're in year 5 of this rebuild now. Yeah. And as you look across the Marlins at the major league level, there are so many problems that we can see, so many unanswered questions. Just how disappointing is this? That and how quickly things feel like they've gone sideways too for me. They felt like they were right on the cusp of doing something, and it feels like it's gone heavily sideways real quick.
Well, Pete, that's become my new bit, right? As you see me tweeting out year 5 with the rebuild all the time, and I think the biggest indictment on what the Marlins have done and where the Marlins are is look at the Orioles. The Orioles are right in the thick of the AL wildcard race, and they started their rebuild at the same time, and theirs seemed much more monumental than the Marlins did, right? They were picking number 1 overall every year, and sure, that helps, supplement the farm with talent. But the Marlins, it's not like they were picking far off from number 1 overall. And we've seen how their drafting has gone, Pete. I mean, Max Meyer obviously looks like a really big stud, and that was hugely disappointing when he went down with Tommy John surgery. But Khalil Watson can't get anything going, right? You were hoping maybe this year, he starts in low A, maybe he gets the Beloit at the end of the year. Now he's back down. He was back down in the Florida Complex League because of all the off-the-field issues going on there. JJ Bleday, I mean, look, I really like the way Bleday has looked at the plate this year, so far in his short stint in the bigs, but it took him longer to get here than Riley Green, who was a few years younger than him, and I don't think he's flashed any, the potential that Riley Green has flashed in his time in the big leagues. The drafting has been disappointing in that sense, Pete, and they have just fallen behind some of these teams that are on the same timeline as them. And now all of a sudden they're even more behind this year because I feel like they took a step back almost, right? So they had this offseason where you think, okay, they're going to supplement some of these young pieces with guys like Soler and Avi Garcia, and obviously we've seen how that has gone. But Jacob Stallings, a lot of people were down on those signings at the time, but Jacob Stallings was a great acquisition. Whether or not that's worked out, that was a great acquisition at the time. They got a guy who many people believed was a top 10 catcher, a Gold Glove catcher, who, should have given them at least some offense compared to what they had last year. And Joey Wendell has been a nice acquisition as well. But still, at the end of the day, here we are, 100-something games in, Pete, and it's August, and Billy Hamilton and Luke Williams and Williams Astudillo, some of these names that are getting starts in lineups, and you're just looking at it and you're just thinking today I'm sitting watching the game and I'm thinking this is actually arguably the most exciting they've been this year because they have LeBlanc, Bleday, Diaz, and then I'm like, oh right, Burdick is there now. So they've got 4 guys in the lineup that you actually want to watch and you want to see because you want to see their development. So this is about the most exciting that they've been because they've been throwing Aguilar and Sanchez and Garcia and De La Cruz and all those guys out there that you just have no interest in watching on a daily basis. But now they're actually letting these young guys play, and I think that it's more than about time because you got to figure out what you have for 2023 in a lot of these guys.
You do. That I think that's the key thing is there's so many guys, that are on the peripheral here that you're thinking, okay, are they going to be part of next year and beyond? And clearly, Jesus Sanchez is one of those guys. He's down in AAA now, so wait and see how that plays out. But he's going to be out of options. So what does that mean for him? Lewin Diaz is in the same spot. Lewin, let's be honest, I I mean, overall, in my opinion, they've completely mismanaged Lewin Diaz. They've
100%.
They've messed around with him so badly, haven't they? And okay, and the numbers haven't been great when he's been up, but with Lewin, what he needed was just plug him in. I hope they finally get around to that now, and maybe they will, but I'm just not convinced they will, to be honest, because Aguilar's still hanging around, and I said on yesterday's pod, I kind of came on here with a solo pod and just rolled it out. And listen, I think the Marlins are out on Jesus Sanchez. I think they're out on Lewin Diaz. I think they're both gone. In this offseason, they're either DFA'd and moved or some kind of trade happens. But I think the Marlins are out on those guys, which is wild considering where we were at with both of them guys a year ago. And this is it for me, Ethan. Like, this is what really deeply troubles me. Pitching, development, everything sensational. Hitting is completely the opposite. If you're number 1 or 2 in the league of pitching development, you're number 30 or 29 in hitting development. What can the Marlins do to change this? Like, it's so wild that this has carried on year after year, and we've seen this. The Marlins haven't been able to do anything from a hitting perspective, and we're still here.
I think the biggest thing, Pete, is they showed it in the draft where they're going to approach developing their organization by developing pitching in-house because they know that's their strength, right? So in the draft, we're all calling for them to take a bunch of hitters, and what do? They went all pitchers basically, right? And you're saying, well, why? Because that's what they do best. Go with what your strength is. If your strength is pitching, then develop pitching in-house and then bring in make trades from that pitching stockpile for bats. Look what they did with Zach Pop and Anthony Bass, and going out and getting Jordan Groshans, they got to do more stuff like that, Pete. They got to be aggressive. That's the biggest thing. We've been calling for them to go out and get this star center fielder because they were running Jesus Sanchez out there and Brian De La Cruz and, whoever it may be. And they, that didn't work out for them, and they're still not being aggressive. They weren't aggressive at the deadline at all. Nope. They made one trade, right?
One.
And they didn't move Brian Anderson. They didn't move Jorge Soler. They didn't move Jesus Aguilar. I don't know if they think those guys are part of the future or what, or if they just really couldn't find anything for them. But if they had plans on moving them and then they didn't move them at the deadline, don't you think they would have just DFA'd Aguilar? But they refused to open the checkbook and just eat some salary. That's the biggest thing, Peter. They're going to have to open the checkbook at some point. You can't you can't follow the Rays model because the Rays model, the Rays don't win the World Series. Like, the furthest they've gotten is Game 6 of the World Series. I say this all the time. I love Moneyball. That movie that movie is wonderful. It's a great movie. I love it. But the A's always lose in the end. They always lose. That formula does not work. What works is a mix of that as well as opening the checkbook and being aggressive in trades when you have to. Pete, I've done a lot of reading this summer, and a lot of the books that I've been reading have been kind of learning about the intricacies of front offices, right? So I read one book about the building of the 2018 Red Sox that won the World Series, the 2017 Astros, the 2016 Cubs. These are the kinds of books that I've been reading. One thing that all those teams had in common is when it was time to win, right? They started being aggressive.
Yeah.
The Cubs went out and traded for Aroldis Chapman. They paid big money for Jason Hayward. The Astros, they were holding on to prospects, and then they said, screw it, we've got to go get Justin Verlander. They weren't really spending big on anybody. They went out and they got Garrett Cole eventually. The Red Sox, that was more of a homegrown team, but they went out and they got JD Martinez, and they paid JD Martinez big money, so that's what all these teams have in common, is that at some point they threw this prospect hugging aside and they said, we've got to get aggressive and bring in elite MLB talent. And at some point the Marlins have to go and do that, Pete, or else they're just going to be in this endless cycle where their ceiling is going to be an NLDS appearance if everything comes together.
Yeah. I think I want to go another level of questioning with you on this thread, but it's time for our first ad, and it is our good friends over at BlueNile.com. Ethan, I need to check. Are you married? You're not married, right?
No, I'm not. No.
You're not married yet. Okay, good. This ad's for you then, brother. No doubt. So, okay, BlueNile.com. You can celebrate all of life's special moments, from creating custom engagement rings or gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece. All the prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. So, if you're thinking about engagement, dropping on one knee, Blue Nile, they got simple online tools to let you choose the diamond shape, size, bigger is better, and clarity, as well as setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft her perfect engagement ring. Yes, each one is one of a kind. It's bespoke. Bespoke engagement rings for your bride-to-be. If you're thinking about, once you've got the ring on it and that's done, then you're thinking about what I do next. Think about life special moments and find jewelry with BlueNile.com. And if you're having trouble choosing, don't worry, Blue Nile, they got experts on hand 24/7. They're sitting there waiting for your texts right now, phone or chat, to make and find a memorable gift at every budget. So you can make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. Going on right now is the Blue Nile anniversary sale. You can save up to 40%. That's 40%. Classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Every order is insured, it ships free and arrives in discreet packaging. It's not going to give away what's inside. You can shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Ethan,
I think if my girlfriend is listening to that, I'm going to get a call after.
I was going to say, brother, you are bang in trouble now, because not only is BlueNile.com sensational, but that ad was delivered like effortlessly.
That was the voice of an angel.
Here's a quick follow-up. There's tons we can get into here, and I love the fact that you're really digging into, the background, the stories around how successful teams are built. And like you said, there's a common theme. However, are the Marlins ever going to spend money? Let's kind of get into that. Are they ever going to spend any dough? Or is it always going to be a bottom third payroll, do you think?
That's not a question for me, Pete, unfortunately, because I don't have any sources really within the Marlins organization. To be honest, I haven't been keeping up recently. I've had a lot going on. I've been all over the place working and traveling and stuff. But I did see that in a Spaces recently, Craig suggested that he's not sure they're going to spend anytime soon. And that should be really, really concerning to Marlins fans, because if they have another huge offseason in front of them, and if they're not going to go out and be aggressive and make trades, and they're going to run some version of this roster back, I mean, they cannot run this back, Pete. They have have to make changes. If they run this back, there will be riots in downtown Miami. I mean, not that people care enough about the Marlins. There will be riots on Marlins Twitter.
There will. That's for sure.
If they run this team back, they have to make big changes. This is another crucial offseason for them. I'm getting sick and tired of franchise-defining off seasons in Miami, Pete. They've got to make the big moves, and if they don't, they will find themselves in this cycle of mediocrity where, again, they're going to peak around 80, 85 wins if everything can come together. But they're going to either have to find some gems from inside this organization, which we've seen the hitting development not be great. So that is not promising. Or they're going to have to go out and explore other options.
I'm with you. Is Kim Ang on the hot seat already? Could she be?
Well, if you ask my Twitter mentions, she should be gone by now. Kim Ang has been a hot topic, and I kind of had this take that I wanted to share about the comments that Eli shared the other day about, there's nothing she can really do. Two things can be true at once, Pete. Kim Ang doesn't swing the bat, right? So and neither does Don Mattingly. So at the end of the day, all these people that constantly call for Kim and Don, and this is their fault, and they don't swing the bats. They don't make the pitches in the 8th inning that blow the game. It's not their fault in that sense, right? But Kim Ang, we think, we don't really, I don't even know if we know for sure, but we think that it's her team. She's making the calls, right? So the second thing that can be true, while it's also true that she doesn't swing the bat, is that it's her that can determine the fate of this team, right? Yeah. She could have made the big moves at the deadline. She could have moved on from Avisaíl Garcia already. She could have traded Jorge Soler, but she hasn't. She could have attached, we don't know what it would have taken, but she could have attached a prospect to Avi Garcia and maybe gotten a team to bite. Yeah. I don't know if they tried to, but it's something that could have happened. So, yes, it's true. She does not swing the bats, so there is nothing she can do when she brings in a guy that's supposed to perform, that's supposed to hit 20 to 25 home runs, and he turns into a slap hitter that is blooping balls to right field. There's nothing she can do about Jorge Soler's back. There's nothing she can do about Jazz Chisholm's back. There's nothing she can do about Jacob Stallings' aggressive regression. Whatever has happened to Jacob Stallings this year is shocking. Yeah. There's nothing she can do about that. But she can change the course of this organization's future by going out and being aggressive. Yeah. And she hasn't done that yet. And if she doesn't this offseason and they run the same product back, then yeah, it's, I think she gets another offseason, Pete. I mean, they seem to trust her, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be a shakeup anytime soon. So we'll see what happens with Don Mattingly. His contract is up, so there's no point in firing him at this point, right?
No point.
We'll see what happens with him in the offseason and whether he decides to come back or whether they find an agreement. Maybe he goes into the front office or whatever. We'll see. But if another offseason goes by, I'm willing to give her another chance. But if another offseason goes by and it's the same thing, next year, then changes need to be made up and down the organization, which they already might be, Pete. Their hitting development is really bad, and that is an organizational problem.
It is. It definitely is. When I think of Kim, one of the first times, and we were probably together in the Zoom room, probably at this point when Kim's there. One of the first questions he's asked about is Brian Anderson. Are you going to extend? At that point, you had the buzz, right? You're going to pay BA. That was the thread, right? We were all in on BA. Let's put a stake in the ground and let's extend anyone, make a commitment. And she took a very passive approach to that. Hey, we're just going to see what happens. Actually, that turns out to be the right decision. So I have to call that out. Like, she made the right call. But the approach was passive. I'm going to sit, wait, and see. Was the vibe I got from that. Okay, cool. And it worked in that situation. Then, speaking after the deadline, it felt to me, we were sitting there waiting for calls. We're going to see what happens. Who's calling on Pablo? Was the vibe. Rightly or wrong, I don't believe that's exactly how things went down, but it felt passive again. Kim and her approach thus far has been quite passive. They were passive with Startling Marte, trying to extend him. Maybe arrogant, I don't know. Not sure, but they were passive. They left it too late. They made a good deal. Some of her trades, I believe, have actually been good. The trades they've made. I think they've been good. So I think her trade eye is good. I like the deal they've done with Bass. But I want to see her crank up the dial on the aggressiveness and realize the window we're in. You got Cy Young, Sandy going every 5 days, and you've got a below average AAA lineup. The two can't coexist. They can't.
And speaking of pass, I think that's a perfect way to put it. And it brings up so many of the things that, I kind of wanted to go into today. I was talking about the lineup earlier with, Blade and Burdick and Diaz and LeBlanc. They have been so passive. You're right. Passive is the perfect word to describe it. They were so reluctant to call so many of these guys up.
Correct.
And it's working. Blade's playing pretty well. Burdick is playing pretty well. LeBlanc can't stop hitting. He had another hit. He's on a 6-game hitting streak. He's got 5 multi-hit games since he's been called up. And they had Williams Astudillo playing over him.
What are they doing?
Eric Gonzalez. They've been the Startling Marte thing is the perfect example, Pete. It took Craig Mish asking Startling Marte whether or not he wanted to. He had extension talks for them to even think about engaging in them. Finally, they engaged in them, and they weren't willing to give him money then at the deadline. Then they traded him, got the return, went into the offseason, and said, now we're ready to be aggressive with you, Starling. They gave him a really good offer that had they offered it 2 months prior, they wouldn't be in this situation. Imagine how much better this team would be if they had Startling Marte on it. He's a 3-4 win player.
Exactly.
And the other thing is he would add just his presence in the lineup would bring so much because They need a jump starter guy at the top of the lineup. Him and Jazz, when Jazz was healthy at the top of the lineup with the way Jazz was hitting the ball this year, would have been tremendous. That was their guy, Pete. They had the guy. The guy that they need to trade for was on their roster. And they said, no, we'll take our time. We'll see. We don't, maybe he'll take a hometown discount. We don't need to be aggressive. We don't need to give him this big offer. If that money was sitting there ready to go to Startling Marte in October, in November, whenever, December, I guess he signed right before the lockout, right? Okay, in December, where was that money in July? Why weren't they willing to give it to him in July? Why did they lowball him in July? Because if they had just offered him that money then, he'd still be here in a Marlins uniform, and they'd be a much better team. The piece that they're missing, the biggest piece that they're missing was on their roster, and they let him go. And that's the number one flaw of this organization right now, is that they let their guy walk, Pete, and they've been chasing after him ever since.
I completely agree. It's been chasing ghosts ever since. And, the problem is, this is the clear thing, that position, that level of production, talent, offensively and defensively combined, they're like unicorns in many ways. And they had one. They made an amazing deal to go and get him. Again, going back, this wasn't Kim Ang's deal.
They traded fucking Caleb Smith.
Traded
Caleb Smith. He's terrible.
Mate, it was one of the best trades of all time.
They pulled off a highway robbery, Pete.
They did.
For the player that they needed. He was the exact player they needed. Yeah. And they let him walk. It is disastrous the way they handled that situation. Cannot say it enough.
Completely agree. Can I also add? Actually, no. I need to do an ad, and then I want to come back and finish up on this thread, because it's something. It's a milestone moment for the Marlins. The way this all played out will haunt the Marlins maybe for a long, long time. But maybe what's haunted me is drinking way too many beers, and I have got an overworked liver, no doubt about that. But it is what it is. But it's now easy to rejuvenate your liver health and reignite your metabolism. And that's all thanks to Liver Health Formula by Pure Health Research. These sound like my best friends. So Liver Health Formula contains 8 liver-boosting super nutrients like turmeric, beets, and artichoke extract, all of which works together to wake up a sluggish liver. Sounds ideal. And turn it into a toxin-flushing and fat-burning machine. Yes, sir.
There you go.
There you go. No more bloated belly. No more uncomfortable digestion. No more feeling tired and low on energy all the time. Get that to the Marlins offense is what I say. Best of all, Liver Health Formula makes it easier to maintain a healthy body weight long-term. No short terms, long-term. As a listener of Locked on Marlins, you can try Liver Health Formula risk-free today. And you get a free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Curb Fit, it's a safe and all-natural appetite suppressant, making it easy to say no to naughty foods. This makes it the perfect complement to Liver Health Formula. So here's what you got to do. Pretty simple, guys. You got to getliverhelp.com/MLB. Did you get that one? Getliverhelp.com/MLB. That rolls off the tongue, no doubt about it. You can claim your free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. A reminder, getliverhelp.com/MLB to get started now.
If the Marlins continue at this pace, Pete, you're really going to need that one.
I didn't drink before I got into baseball. It's only since I've been following the Marlins. I used to be teetotal before that, but nevertheless, I've had a nice wine tonight. It's all good.
There you go.
We were talking about Startling Marte. And I've completely forgot what I was going to say now. So, get Liver Help has taken me off course, which I guess was to be expected. But it was a deal. No, I know what I was going to say. The interesting bit, right, when the Mets and Marlins played each other this year, and you had earlier in the year anyway, and you had a massive embrace of Jazz, Startling Marte. You go back to when the Marlins made the postseason in 2020. What did you see? You saw images of Startling Marte in the mix, smoking cigars, being an absolute clubhouse stud. That's the other thing for me. This clubhouse has gone sideways this year. Yeah. And Startling Marte, in my opinion, was a massive part of that clubhouse at that point. Cool dude. Played it, just a top dude. You can see Jazz loved him. And for me, I just feel like that's subtracted away. And I also have to call out, listen, offensive production. Okay, Brinson, not the main dude, but I must say Brinson as the man and as a work ethic dude top guy to have around your clubhouse, the type of guy that you need. Okay, you didn't get it always on the field that you wanted to see the results, but you could never knock Lewis Brinson's personality, work ethic, anything. Same with Startling Marte. Just look at Marte. He's like 33, 34. He's absolutely ripped. No one else looks like Marte. So I think you've lost a couple of guys there, and it's been left kind of miggy, a bit rudderless there, trying to piece it together with Aguilar, and
and not only that, Peter, a lot of the clubhouse just seems to be like they got the football helmet thing, and we all know about the meeting that happened earlier this year. It just seems like there's just no energy.
No, lax juice.
The team is just like running on fumes. They're not scoring any runs. I mean, the 3 runs is the most runs I've seen them score in probably 2 weeks or something like that. It feels like, yeah, it feels like they're
averaging less than three runs a game since I think the 1st of July. I think, and maybe even longer. Something like that.
Without Jazz, this lineup has just gone completely. I mean, and Birdie, who was such a spark plug in June.
Yeah,
they have just lost it completely. There's just no energy. There's no energy at the ballpark because nobody wants to go watch them. So they're never, when they're down and out in a game, they're down and out. There's no energy to bring them back in any games. It's just a lifeless club. It's a lifeless club. I like a lot of these guys, and I've been around the team the last couple of years, and I don't want to insult any of them, and I don't want to insult the team, the people around the team, because I know they care. I know that team really cares. But there's just no life to this team. They're a lifeless ball club, and it's resulted in them. They're going to be a 70-win team this year probably, and before the year I probably said 70, 75 wins was a target, closer to 75, 80. And I don't know what the pace is right now, Pete, but I mean,
not good.
Yeah, it's not good. And 70 wins, it might be tough depending on how they played, in the last 2 months of the season.
Schedule's rough too. Like they're loaded up with
they've got the second toughest.
Yeah.
They've got the second toughest schedule remaining. I saw yesterday.
Bravos are coming now. Bravos next. Yeah. Padres then Dodgers, right? So
jeez. My God. Braves, Padres, Dodgers. That's the week ahead for them.
It is.
Oof.
Don't you worry about it. I mean, they're not a show sponsor, but I've just put my subscription into lathwaiteswines.com in advance of that week. It is going to be boozy, no doubt. I mean, when we kind of strip it back, we get to the end of the year. Let's say they win 68, 69, 70 games, whatever it is, right? It's going to be way below par. They, like to your point earlier, they can't run it back. You can't run this back. So what's going to change? Like, I mean, this is the half the problem, though.
Yeah,
they're locked into Avi. They're locked into Soler. The pitching is the pitching. Where do they go? Like, I feel like they're kind of blocking themselves as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, and they're keeping all these vets that aren't going to be around for long term. Until Blade and all these guys got called up, there was one guy in the lineup. I mean, there is still one guy on the team. He's hurt right now. That in the lineup, not on the rotation, obviously. In the lineup, there's one player that's been grown internally that for sure could be a staple, depending on contract situation, right? Could be a staple of this team for the next 5 to 10 years. One guy in year 5 of the rebuild.
It's shocking, isn't it?
That's all there is to say. There's one guy.
I know.
And yeah, I mean, it's I don't know what changes. I don't know if anything will change. And you have to look at this as just. I wrote an article a while back, Pete. This was already, I don't know, this was June, probably May. And I wrote an article and I said the Marlins are the one thing they couldn't be this year, and it is the same. They're the same that they were last year, and it's the one thing they couldn't be. And here they are. They're going to win 70 games probably. And top 10 pick. I saw you last night hoping for the draft lottery, That's where they are. Again, it's they held on a little longer this time. They held on till June or July. But, I was in vacation visiting my girlfriend in the Jersey Shore last weekend. And I was there Wednesday to Saturday. And I come back on Sunday to go to work, and the Marlins are on. and I look at the standings, and they're 10 under. And I'm like, what the hell? How the hell did that happen? Where did that come from? They were they were a game under 500, not long ago. They were 3-4 games under 500. And it seemed, they got close. Did they get back to 500 at any point?
No.
Maybe like early in the season. They got within one game of 500, I remember, like 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. And every time they just couldn't clear that hump. And I don't know if it's a mental block or what, because look at what the Orioles have done since they finally got over 500. Now here are the Marlins. So
it is so funny. And I remember Garrett Cooper talking about it with Jeremy Taché on his pod. The fact that they seem to keep getting just a game below 500 and then go on a terrible skid. Like, it just seems to be the way this team's built. This team feels, I mean, we had the same last year. It was coming off the back of, the 2020, but the postseason run. 2021, the injuries and the roster depth and blah, 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 and those problems. I mean, we do have to hold our hands up that, they had a ton of injuries that did kind of drop in all at a similar time. But in general, I don't think this team was going anywhere. Like, I think, they were already, like, I could see it in the first week of the year, to be honest with you. I saw people on Marlins Twitter after game 2 with the white flag emoji, and I was like, yeah, I'm all in on the white flag. Like, it feels like that. Like, you could sense there just wasn't.
When Avi Garcia's first 9 at-bats were ground outs to third base or something.
We knew it.
You're
we
just
knew
thinking,
it there and then.
Okay, here it is. This is how it's going to be.
I think we all felt it, didn't we? Like, we all collectively, after that first series in San Francisco, we were like,
I was holding on hope, and then what were they? They were like 3 and I can't even remember. They had such a torrid start, and you're just thinking, oh, here we go again, And then they got hot. They won 7 in a row. They won 7 in a row again later. Mm-hmm. And
exactly.
They haven't been able to get off the ground other than that, really.
No, they haven't. All right. A couple of quick fires on guys specifically. And I just want to get you to take kind of almost yes or no. Pablo Lopez with the Marlins on opening day in 2023.
Yes.
Miguel Rojas with the Marlins opening day 23.
I'm going to say yes, but not as a starter.
Okay. Brian Anderson.
I mean, if he's healthy, he probably should have been gone at the deadline, Pete. Mm-hmm. I say he's got one more year of control, right? Or is he a free agent after this year?
He's final year of ARB approaching now, so.
Okay. I think he's moved.
Moved, okay.
Yeah, I think he's gone.
Lewin Diaz?
This is the funniest question ever, Pete, because they got an option on Aguilar. Cooper, I don't think they want to move, really. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they do. I think it would be best if he's gone for him.
Me too.
Not for the Marlins, but for him, I think it's best if he's gone.
Me too. Jesus Sanchez?
Ask me in September. We'll see how he does in Jacksonville. But another one, I think it might be best if he's gone. I don't know. I think he's in the Marlins organization on opening day next year.
Okay. Okay. And starting catcher, opening day.
I think you got to give Jacob Stallings another chance because I don't really think this is the player that he is. So I think you start Jacob Stallings. You start Jacob Stallings and Nick Fortes on the opening day roster. Give it about a month. And whoever is the best after a month is the starting catcher for the rest of the year.
Let's see how it goes. All right, that is us done for Locked On Marlins. Post-game on a Thursday. The Marlins have won. You wouldn't have guessed.
You wouldn't know it.
You wouldn't have known. Wouldn't have known to listen to this episode. But like you said, we wanted to kind of get into big things. The Marlins, they did win. And, listen, Bladay's showing some signs of life. It's been, it's been interesting, no doubt. Burdick's hit a couple of extra base hits and a bomb, obviously. LeBlanc, however you pronounce his surname, he continues to rake. There's things to enjoy and watch. I loved watching Eddie Cabrera in action today. To me, I'm watching great. Eddie. Let's finish up on Eddie Cabrera though, mate, because for me, I was watching it today and there's Sandy 2.0 there somewhere. I know the health is a problem, but when I watch Eddie and I think back to what Sandy was like, because we take it for granted what Sandy is now, but we forget what Sandy was like in 2018, and we all watched him then.
He reminds me a lot of Sandy. Yes,
yeah, it really does, doesn't he?
100%. 100%. I've said that all along, with his first few starts last year. Same thing, low strikeout, good stuff, a lot of walks, unconventional.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to piece it together. Pete, if they can throw a starting rotation out there of Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, Jesus Luzardo, Edward Cabrera, and then some combination of Sixto Sanchez, LOL, Trevor Rogers, or somebody else.
Braxy.
I guess they can't do Max Meyer, though.
Jake
I'm
Eder,
sure they would love
to
be
back
on opening day. Yeah, on opening day, they're not. I don't think they're going to start Eder right away. But Braxton Garrett, how could I forget Braxton Garrett? He's been great. He's been great for them. So if that's the opening day rotation next year, Pete, that's really good. It's really good. All you need is a couple. They're still in this position where if they're just aggressive, if they get out of their own way, and they go out and get a couple guys, they could still be a pretty good team next year. It's just how aggressive are they going to be? It's up to them. It's entirely up to them.
Really is. I'm very intrigued.
And on Eddie, he's great. He's going to be great. I mean, he is a stud. And they've still got it together in the rotation. So at least they've got that going for them.
No doubt about it. Tons of arms, continue to be tons of arms knocking around. We're out of time for Locked On Marlins on Thursday. Ethan, where can people find you on Twitter? If they're not watching and they've got the graphics to help them, where can they find you on Twitter? Equally, please let everyone know what it is you're working on now, because you've kind of broadened your horizons now outside of just Fish Stripes coverage and just for the Marlins. So please share what you're up to.
Yeah, so right now I'm at WSVN, Channel 7 here in Miami as an associate sports producer, really enjoying that. Of course, I'm always helping out Just Baseball. Haven't been doing as much writing, just been crazy busy, but helping out with social media there. Me and my guy, Elijah Evans, shout out to him. He really deserves a lot of love. He has been carrying the load while I've been busy here on the Just Baseball Twitter. So Just Baseball Media, we're doing some really amazing stuff over there. So shout out to those guys. And then, you can find me at Ethan Budowsky. Marlins, Heat, Dolphins, Panthers, Gators, PSG, Formula One, any type of sports that you're looking for, hit me up over there and we'll be able to talk it out. So Pete, it was really great being back. Thanks for having me.
Long time, well overdue. And also what you did share in that episode then as well is you are coming back in September. You've already said you'll ask me again in September. So,
yep, sounds good to me.
We're queued up, brother. All right, guys, that is us done. Thursday episode. Peter Pratt, Ethan Budowsky signing out. And we are going to be back tomorrow, of course, because, guys, reminder, this is a daily podcast. It's your team every day. I'll be back tomorrow. And I've got Riley's Rakes already queued up for a Marlins Braves series preview. So look forward to that one, guys. In the meantime, relax, have a glass of wine, and enjoy a Marlins win. Back tomorrow.